Hello, one and all, it's my view that time reincarnated slime preparing for war. And while the big element episode was certainly Rimuru's new teleportation magic, I just really take a minute to appreciate the unlikely friendship between Shion and Diablo. I mean, they started off by arguing over which of them should go to the wall participant, which one of them should be Rimuru's attendant, but then once Diablo steps down, they start bonding over their shared belief in Rimuru's absolute power and strength. In fact, right now, if we went a step further, with Diablo saying that now that Rimuru's a demon lord, there's no need for any other demon lord, so they just kill every last one of them. And the truly scary part about that is that a lot of people nod their heads in agreement. A lot of Rimuru's top brass, his top officers, all agree that they should go kill all the other demon lords. Only Shuna and Geld really protest this at all, so yeah, Rimuru really is doing his best to keep everyone in line, keep everyone from, declaring war against 10 of the strongest beings in all of existence. But anyway, then later on, Diablo also gives his support to his senior secretary and her desire to purge Clayman, as they share this weird thumbs up back and forth, which, again, just so weird, but also kind of cute. Like how they're both bonding together over their shared love of Rimuru is, in a weird way, adorable, and I just can't believe how much I freaking love it. But anyway, on to the big star of this episode, Rimuru's new teleportation magic. Now, transport magic and teleport magic are essentially the same thing. They both connect one space to the other through the use of an altered dimension, but teleport magic requires more magicules because it also incorporates a barrier. The person basically wraps himself in a barrier as they travel through that dimension so they don't get irradiated by magicules and, probably die. There's also the reason why transport magic can't be used to transport food back and forth because the food would become essentially inedible. And because beastmen and monsters have a naturally high resistance to magicules, Raphael is very easily able to create a spell that provides them with minimum protection they need in order to survive the teleportation. Huzzah! And I do just love how Raphael says thank you when Rimuru compliments her, when he praises her for creating this spell. It just felt like such an overwhelmingly human moment. It really goes to show how since her evolution, she's gained a sense of self, a consciousness, and ego. And I also love how everyone's just so utterly shocked when Rimuru announced that in the span of 10 seconds, he created a spell that completely changes the face of warfare. I mean, seriously, he can send his soldiers right to the battlefield in a second, in the blink of an eye. There's no need for supply lines, no need for setting up camp, no need for sending supplies back and forth. He can have his soldiers sleep in their own bed the night before battle, and then immediately go to the battlefield the very next day. Oh, it's amazing. It's so freaking amazing. And I'm actually a bit surprised King Gazelle said nothing. I mean, I don't think he was actually here for this part in the light novel, but there have been other parts of the series where Rimuru's completely changed the face of warfare, and King Gazelle's had a whole lot to say about that, giving very long lectures. Though I guess here it might be a bit different because, the spell can only really be done by Rimuru. Only Raphael can perform the calculations, and only Rimuru, or at least someone as strong as Rimuru, can provide the magicals needed to actually pull off the spell, to actually teleport an entire army this massive. And just beyond how useful the spell is, it looks so freaking amazing. I mean, every time I used it on a small scale, there was this beautiful shot of this black lightning, a completely unique pattern each time too, as you used it time and time again. It just looks so freaking cool. And then when it actually came time to teleport the entire army, oh my god, the details of this magic circle was freaking insane. Just so much work had to go into animating this and just making it look as amazing as it did. And I am so glad they did that. I am so glad they did because it was seriously one of my favorite moments of this entire series so far. Oh, though fun fact, in the light novel, it actually took Rimuru 5 full minutes to cast this spell. So yeah, not all that surprised they changed it in the anime. That would have been a very interesting 5 minutes of Rimuru just casting the spells. Everyone's, just standing completely still, not speaking, not talking, not trying to distract him at all. That would have been interesting. That would have definitely been interesting. But anyway, back at the start of this episode, Rimuru announced he's going to save the Beastmen. Huzzah! Partly because they are his allies, but mainly because he doesn't want Clayman to awaken into a true demon lord and become a much bigger problem for him to deal with down the road. I do just love Benimaru's response as like, heck yeah, we can do it. He's like, of course, sir, you can count on me. I mean, he's still just a party animal at heart. He is a true warrior, but he's trying to, act more refined, act as a true general here. In fact, in light novel, Rimuru actually complains that Benimaru is always so serious when he's talking to him, and he wishes he'd, cut back and let loose a little bit, relax a bit, and be more casual with him, even though, Rimuru is his boss and his borderline god, essentially. And then Shion pipes in and declares they should just crash Walpurgis, which, for her is not an overwhelmingly terrible idea. I mean, it does make a certain level of sense. Rimuru is technically a demon lord, so he has every right to attend the meeting, and thankfully Ramos is there so she can actually get him a spot. In fact, in the light novel, she RSVPs right then and there, using a magical cell phone that's used exclusively by demon lords. I kind of wish that was in the anime, but instead we just see her getting spoon-fed ice cream by the dryads, which is pretty cute. I will admit that was pretty cute. But he is told he can only bring 2 attendants. Apparently that's a rule because a while back, a newer demon lord showed up with 100 of his best warriors to flat out his strength, and a much older demon lord was kind of ticked off that day because his nation had just been destroyed, so he decided to take it out on the younger demon lord by killing him and all 100 of his warriors. So yeah, ever since then it's basically been a hard fast rule. Don't bring anyone weak, and you can only bring a maximum of 2 people. And of course, number 1 has gotta be Shion, because she would throw a major fit if Rimuru didn't bring her. And Clayman did kind of sort of get her killed, so yeah, she has every right to get revenge against him. And number 2 has gotta be Ranga, Rimuru's faithful companion. Though I am seeing a lot of people online saying, well, what about Murin? Wasn't Rimuru being framed for her death, so shouldn't he bring her to clear his name? And that does make a certain amount of sense, but there are a few problems with that. I mean, first off, she's kind of busy right now with Yom, trying to make him a king, despite the fact that he is an illiterate peasant, while she has actual training in etiquette, so yeah, she is much more needed with Yom, trying to keep him from, picking his nose in front of royalty and nobles. Secondly, there is a very good chance this means to end up in a battle. Big fight between, at the very least, Rimuru and Clayman, but there's also the possibility of Freya, Melim, and God knows how many other demon lords who are loyal to Clayman, so yeah, I mean, Murin is certainly strong by human standards, but she does not hold a freaking candle to Ranga, to Shion, to Rimuru, so if things actually do end up turning into a fight, it'd be much better for Rimuru to have Ranga at his back than to have Murin. And finally, Clayman could just lie. As soon as he sees Murin standing next to Rimuru, he could just say, oh, that's a puppet, that's a body double. Oh, he did kill her, and that is her body, but he stuck a demon inside of it to try and trick all of you. How awful he is. So yeah, bringing her really wouldn't do all that much good for Rimuru, so he decides to bring Ranga instead. And I'm very happy about that, because Ranga has not had a chance to shine in a very long time. I mean, seriously, last time Ranga actually fought was probably back during the Orc disaster, so yeah, I'm very excited to see him, show off what he can do now, especially after his evolution. Yay! And while part of the reason he's going is to clear his own name, he's also just really concerned about Melim, and is trying to figure out exactly what's going on with her, because he's worried, as soon as the meeting ends, she'll just come over to Tempest and burn it to the ground if she has actually betrayed them, or she's actually being controlled by Clayman. Though nobody really thinks that Melim betrayed them, it just doesn't seem likely, but they just can't really justify their actions. They can't really explain why she's doing what she's doing, other than her being somehow controlled and manipulated by Clayman. Also, I just have to take a second to point out how much I freaking love that Rimuru spent a decent chunk of this episode on top of Shion's head, holding onto her horn. Oh, I just found that so freaking cute, seriously. And then Veldora steps up, and I have got to say, I am very impressed by the manga collection he's managed to build up in these last couple hours. I mean, seriously, it's almost larger than my own. I guess Rimuru just keeps making them for him every couple minutes. Weird, very weird. But anyway, he proves that he's not been paying attention at all for the last couple hours, as they've had this long meeting, as he has no idea why he can't come along with Rimuru, why they're trying to keep him secret, or what it is they're planning really at all. And so Rimuru has to explain very slowly that Veldora needs to stay behind to protect Tempest, and because if Rimuru actually brought Veldora with him, everyone would just think, oh, this slime is claiming to be a demon lord simply because he's friends with a storm dragon, he's weak without him. And that analogy is enough to drive Shion and Veldora into a murderous rage, which, oh god, yes, they are a lot of work to look after. I truly do not envy Rimuru. I truly do not envy him. And Ramos, meanwhile, gets Trini and Brett as her attendants, and that's quite a fighting force right there. That is quite a fighting force. I mean, Beretta is a chaos golem who can wield both holy and demonic forces, and Trini is an incredibly high-ranking monster, probably on the same level as Benimaru and Shion before their evolution, so yeah, that is a lot of fighting power at her disposal, and that's kind of terrifying. I'm kind of afraid of what Ramos will do when the power goes to her head. And while Rimuru continues to plan for this meeting, he can't help remember that Leon is going to be there, the demon lord that he kind of swore vengeance against a very long time ago to avenge Shizue. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. I mean, I think he's going to be, fairly busy with Clayman, Freya, Melim, so he's probably not going to have a chance to get vengeance against him, but at the very least, he'll have a chance to meet him, a chance to talk to him, and that's going to be interesting. That's going to be very interesting. And then we flash over to Melims Country, the land of dragons, which has about 100,000 people living off the land in harmony with nature, and they have universal basic income. I am not even kidding, that term is actually used in the light novel. Yeah, apparently everyone gets food and supplies enough to survive, but the more hardworking people get more, and Father Midray is the one who decides how much each person's contributions are worth. Which gives him, a lot of power in the country, but the priests who serve under him are able to dismiss him from office if he becomes too corrupt. Which isn't really relevant at all, but the author of the series just really, really loves government. Loves describing how they work, how they're affected by fantasy settings, comparing them to one another. He just really loves government. I've said before, this is a series about building up a country, and this author clearly knows his stuff. He clearly understands it well enough to explain it perfectly and describe the growth of Tempest. But anyway, Midray is just very, very angry about having to feed this massive army, with Hermes even saying, as befitting someone who worshipped Melim, Midray tended to fly into violent rages all too easily. I love it, and that definitely makes sense because, Midray clearly has some serious devotions to Melim. Hermes, not so much. He's definitely a devout follower of Melim, but he's, traveled the world. He's seen what's outside this country, and he's aware that a lot of what they do in this country is just really, really stupid. For one thing, they don't cook their food at all. They might, put their meat over some fire so it doesn't go bad, so it's not raw, but for the most part, they just eat, raw vegetables. That's their main staple of their diet, and that's part of the reason why Melim loves Tempest so much, because she can actually get good cooked food there. But anyway, then Yamza shows up and announces that Midray, Hermes, and the other priests are going to have to carry their supplies as they go into war. And Hermes has a lot to say about that, but as soon as he starts complaining, Yamza cuts off his arm, and then Father Midray drop kicks him. Which, was definitely done to protect him, to save his life, to keep Yamza from delivering the finishing blow and killing him, but I just love the ferocity of his attack like this. Seriously, he put a dent in the pillar, and then once Yamza left, he, basically said, "You idiot, there was no way you could take on a foe like that." But I definitely don't think that Midray and Hermes can really be underestimated. Hermes got his arm cut off, and it didn't really even seem to bother him all that much, and Father Midray managed to reattach it fairly easily in the span of 2 seconds, so yeah, they've definitely got some power behind them. As you would expect if someone, worships freaking Melim. But anyway, back in Tempest, Rimuru realizes that even if he teleports his entire army directly in front of Clayman's army, the citizens of the Beast Nation can still get caught in the crossfire, so he decides to evacuate the entire nation in a single night and bring them all to Tempest, which... Oh, that's such a Rimuru thing to do. And what might actually be more impressive is that he has Guild build a refugee camp big enough to fit the entire country overnight as well. Oh, I love you, Guild. I freaking love you. And at this part of the light novel, Rimuru is described as being mentally fatigued, but perfectly healthy. While Phobio, yeah, he looks dead. He looks utterly dead. And Phobio has just been standing there, just talking to people all night, while Rimuru actually has to be the one that casts the teleportation spell again and again and again. And when Phobio asks him how he's capable of doing this, his response is so utterly perfect. Because I'm the leader of Tempest. That says nothing and it says everything at the same time, He couldn't be the leader of Tempest. He wasn't capable of doing this at the bare minimum. And then we finally get to see Rimuru's army's full fighting force. And the light novel actually goes into a lot more detail explaining how they've all changed thanks to Rimuru's evolution into a demon lord. It actually says all the men have gained more stamina and the women have gained glossier, more beautiful skin. I kid you not, which Benimaru interprets to mean that their spiritual strength has risen. I guess that makes some sense. And a lot of them have gained new skills. For some of them, they were skills related to personality, like Xion gaining Master Chef, and others all managed to gain the same skill because they belong to the same group. Like the Goblin Riders, they all gained one very, very interesting skill that I cannot wait to see them use in the upcoming battle. Oh, it's gonna be fun. It makes them a true threat. And then we have Team Kurnai, the Red Flame, which is made up of 300 ogres. Light novel described them as being ogres, but a lot of people online were saying they were hobgoblins who evolved into ogres. I'm not sure where that comes from. I reread that chapter last night. I didn't see anything like that mentioned, but a lot of people were saying it, so I think it must be true, and it must be just mentioned somewhere else I'm not remembering. But anyway, then we have the green numbers, 4,000 hobgoblins who have all learned control flame and flame resistance because of their devotion to Benimaru, because of their trust and faith in Benimaru as their general, as their leader. So yeah, despite the fact they're all green, they're all dressed as green, they use fire attacks, which, yeah, that's gotta be surprising for an enemy. That's gotta be very, very surprising for their enemies. And then we have the yellow numbers, 5,000 orcs who all managed to gain impressive resistances and defense-boosting abilities thanks to Rimuru's evolution. And, they also have the shields made from Charybdis' scales, so they're basically invincible. They are basically invincible. And the officers, the strongest members of the team, all managed to get the skill Control Earth. So, yeah, that's very, very impressive and very useful in battle for digging trenches, preparing the battlefield, all sorts of fun stuff. And then we have Gabiru's 100 Dragon Newts, Team Hyrule, the Flying Dragons, all of whom managed to gain the skill Dragon Body, as well as either Flame or Thunder Breathing, with Gabiru gaining both of them. And they can just move so very, very fast, and they're basically immune to almost any attack, so yeah, a truly, truly terrifying force, despite there only being 100 of them. And then we have my personal favorite, Team Reborn, who are made of 100 or so people who were killed when Falmus attacked and then brought back to life by Rimuru. Thanks to this, they gain the skill Complete Memory and Self-Regeneration, which basically makes them unkillable. Even if their heads are blown off, their memories are stored in their astral body, so they can regenerate their heads and be fine. I mean, if they're facing an opponent who can actually attack their spiritual body, that's a much, much different story, but in any other situation, they're essentially immortal, essentially invincible. But because they've only been invincible for about a week, they're only ranked about C in terms of strength, though they are very, very motivated to prove themselves. And even though many of them were, basically children when they died, death really matured them, and now they're even capable of surviving Shion's hellish training. So, yeah, in a very short amount of time, they are going to become a truly, truly terrifying fighting force. And, oh, I'm excited for that. I'm so, so excited for that. But anyway, in total, Rimuru has about 10,000 soldiers of his own, 10,000 beastmen here, and another 10,000 beastmen waiting in the Beast Nation. Huzzah! Though his strategy is going to be a bit more complex than let's just go there, teleport right in front of Claim and attack him, I'm very, very curious how that's going to be played out in the anime. Very, very curious about that. Though for those of you thinking next episode is going to be the big war, the big battle, probably not. I think it's going to be more Rimuru preparing for his meeting with Walpurgis, meeting with the other Demon Lords, given the episode's name is actually called Demon Lords. I mean, we can actually ask Ramers, so who's actually going to be here? What are the Demon Lords like? Whose side are they going to take? What's going to happen? How have Walpurgis meetings gone in the past? Stuff like that. There's a whole lot of intel he can actually get out of Ramers if he thinks to ask her about it. But let me know down below. What's going to happen next? How's the war going to go? Rimuru's 30,000 versus Clayman's 30,000. What do you think of Melims' people, her Dragon Faithful, and what are they going to do in the war? What's going to happen when Rimuru actually gets to the Walpurgis meeting? How are the other Demon Lords going to react to seeing a slime declare himself a Demon Lord? Let me know what you think all down below, and until next time, peace!